Hello, hello. Welcome to the Million Dollar Business Conference. Today we are talking with Neil Dagger. Neil is the best-selling author and accomplished entrepreneur, which with his popular book, Millionaire ChatGPT, as a computer science and graduate from the University College London, Neil has motivated many people to tap into the potential of artificial intelligence to grow financially. Neil, welcome. How are you today?
Hi, Maria. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited because we're going to dive into all of the things ChatGPT, but most importantly, tell us about how you started and your journey.
Yeah, so absolutely. So, I mean, I've always been passionate about using new technology. So, OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, released an older version, just GPT, which is a training model, well, a beta model, like almost over a year ago now. And at that time, it wasn't that great, but they've been releasing incremental updates since then. Back then, it was just like you basically think as good as Alexa or Siri or something. But around November 2022, one of my friends started a new business, and it was foreign exchange advisory. And he wanted to kind of have an idea of how should I reach new clients? And I'm sure that's a problem a lot of people have. Like, how do I find new clients? Do I reach out to them on LinkedIn? Do I email them? Do I find them through their website? What do I do? And so like he had some clients, his emails he'd got, and he's like, how do I email them cold without just being sent to the junk folder? And it's like we racked our brains, like, oh, let's try this line, that line. And I was like, all right, you know what? Let's ask ChatGPT. It came up with something that was so specific and so perfect. We're like, wow, it took us half an hour to create something that wasn't anywhere near as good. Like, imagine if you're looking on Google, you're not going to find specific templates for your business. If you do, you're going to spend hours looking for it, or you're going to mishmash certain bits and bobs from here and there. Here, you got something that's specifically tailored to your situation, and it was just mind blowing. And I instantly I knew this is going to change the way we interact with the internet, and I had to write a book about it.
And live our lives. This is going to be
exactly, absolutely, like.
So with ChatGPT Millionaire, I think that has been such a transformational book for many people. What do you think is the thing that will really help people make money with that?
So I guess one of the main things is just like people are really afraid of getting started, or they just don't know how to get started. So what I've got in there is basically lots of ideas and ready-made templates, prompts that you can just copy and paste if you don't know what to do. And I feel like that can be very helpful because everyone wants to make supplemental income, right? Like, even look at like people like Bezos or 100 billion, they're like nonstop. Everyone wants to make more money, and this I feel like is something revolutionary that is something that's still not reached its like permutation, floating point where everyone's heard of, everyone's doing it. A lot of businesses haven't yet embraced it. So this is the time. I think this is the biggest opportunity since cryptocurrency first came around, Bitcoin back in 2010 when it was released, that people have to kind of jump early, get in on something, have a good skill set, and supplement their income, make more money. People are making ridiculous amounts. Like, we have 11-year-olds creating games with no coding knowledge. It's like,
wow.
It's amazing.
Wow, that is huge. Even like what I had recently done, I wrote a contractor's agreement for a client of mine on ChatGPT. So all of that is just like in a click of a button, it's done for you.
Absolutely. Like, there's a very famous website, like basically, which just says you don't need a lawyer, and you just, any legal documents you want to read or create, it just does it for you.
Yeah, it's crazy. You don't need a lawyer. And I was actually going to go into contract law to do,
oh, wow.
Procurement and, having the red line contracts. With ChatGPT, that's not needed anymore. That job is gone. And ChatGPT is going to replace a lot of jobs.
It's going to replace a lot. Absolutely.
And your book is going to help a lot of people to figure out supplemental income. So that's good. So tell us about your 3 favorite success books.
So, like I love reading, and I feel like there's so much great information out there. Like it's hard to choose three, but I guess off the top of my head, I guess one of the ones that I really loved early on, I found a few years ago, was The Millionaire Fast Lane by MJ DeMarco. And basically he just talks about like how what we're taught in school and how we're just taught about the traditional way of making money is just you work a traditional job, save some money into your pension or 401k, wait 30 years, let it compound. And that just doesn't cut it. You're going to be spending the best years of your life just working in a job. But what MJ DeMarcus says, like that works great if you've already got millions to start with. So so you call that almost the slow lane, and the fast lane being you start working for yourself, make as much money as you can, and once you made a very respectable amount of money, then you go back to the slow lane, invest your money, put in the pension, the 401ks, the S&P 500, and that works great.
Okay, so it's really more the quantity of money.
Yeah, for when you're in the slow lane, right? Like if you're making 6-7% a year, it's going to take you to about 12 years to double your money. So it's really, which if you got 100 million in there, amazing. But if you got $1,000 in there, it's not going to do much for you.
And then, I actually have that as a book too. So I'm excited that you and I are on that same wavelength. What's the second book?
So the second book is this one's a classic. You might have heard of it, The Richest Man in Babylon. And like it just basically goes through the old parables and just the importance of just saving money, which is obviously what people know about. But like I know when I first started getting my early paychecks, I'm like, oh, I want to go to the latest clubs, I want to buy these new clothes, buy a new car, get a new flat, instead of just saving money. And it's like compound interest is terrible when it works against you. It's like the last thing you need is basically putting debt through something that's not your fault, whether it be you're ill and you get medical debt, or your car breaks down and you need to get a new one. And debt just crushes you, and avoid debt is basically the main message there.
Yeah, that's really good. I still need to read that one, Neil. And then your third favorite book.
Yeah, I think this one's definitely been the most influential one. It's called Your Money or Your Life. It's just by Ricky Robbins back in the 90s. And that kind of really started off a trend, which you might have heard of, called the FIRE movement, the Financial Independence Retire Early movement, which I'm personally a big fan of. I think everyone needs to get in on that. And it's just like basically that it shows you like, a lot of people don't want to work for themselves because they're like, oh, look, this is X amount of money I make. How can I do that? Whether it's a business, a freelancer, or selling my own products, what you have here. But like the reality is you're actually not making as much money as you think. It's like once you start adding up, say you're saying making 50 grand a year, but once you take away taxes, you add, say, the cost of stuff like your transportation, your car, you add the time, like most people have half an hour each way commute, you add that commute, your hourly rate after all that is a lot lower than you think, which is what you have to replace if you start working for yourself and potentially join the fast lane, as DJ DeMarco says. And just, like no one likes working for a boss, right? Like it's just, it's brutal.
No, it's so true. You don't, bosses, they'll say, I love my boss. No, you really don't.
You love the paycheck, right?
You love the money. Yeah. That's really great. 1 out of 3 I'm reading. So I got to cover the 2 that you have shared with us. Thank you so much, because, success books are really important. Success mentors, success, anything, to stay inspired with, like what you said, the FIRE movement. Can you share a little bit about the FIRE movement again?
Yeah, absolutely. So the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early movement, is just basically something where people don't want to. They realize that, okay, you know what, just like back in the 60s and 70s, where you could support a family of 4, get a massive house on one person working for 40 years, and those days are gone. Right? Like nowadays, you just can't do that anymore. And company loyalty is also not rewarded as much. You get massive layoffs all the time. It's just not the same as it used to be. And what people focus on in the FIRE movement is just basically retire early, retire. Um, Ideally, there's people who've been retiring in their 30s and 40s, and the way you do it is like through a combination of aggressive saving, working harder, and basically learning the true math behind retirement. Like, so there was a study by the Trinity College in Cambridge, University of Cambridge, you might have heard, right? Like, so which very, very famous study, which basically said that over the 150 years of the stock market, if you were to invest something, you're going to get on average about 10% returns. And over over 70 years or so, you're okay. If you want to have 4% return, you're going to be fine. So basically, the math says, the long-winded way of putting it, is if you got 25 times your yearly expenses in the S&P 500, you can retire.
Wow.
So people just try and aggressively get there as fast as possible. Now, there's a lot of variations and nuances and a lot more subsets, but that's the general idea. If you got 25 times your expenses, yearly expenses, you can retire. And people have been retiring in the 30s, 40s. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, people in their 20s don't really know this, and they're kind of like busy partying, you know. We need to get them to be aware of that so that they can start aggressively, you know, investing into that. Absolutely. Such a great movement.
Yeah, like the ironic thing is, like you said, the people in the 20s would be the people who benefit the most, because obviously compound interest will just take over. It's like the eighth wonder of the world, as Einstein said. The earlier you start, the better off you'll be.
Right. Yeah. You know, my kids are 6 and 8, and I'm just trying to figure out, how do I get them to start at like 15? To start 15 up until, you know, retirement time. So tell us, back to ChatGPT, the amazing AI software. So crazy, it's incredible. How difficult is it to start making supplemental income with ChatGPT?
So, you know what, like absolutely a lot of people ask me that. And you know what, it's just like any other skill, right? Like you got to learn how to use it. There is a little bit of a learning curve. You do need to understand the answer that you're going to get from ChatGPT, or the output is only as good as your input. You can phrase the same question 4 different ways, get 4 very different results, and only one of them, for example, might be appropriate for you. So it is a learned skill. And obviously you can, one of the ways, like you can just stay around, you can play with it, you can learn it by trial and error, and that's great. That's how I learned. And one of the other ways obviously you can get is you can learn from someone who's been using it for a while, who's got the tips and tricks, things like aha moments that you kind of not thought about. Like there's a lot of good resources out there. And actually that brings me to my next point. For your conference members, we're going to be giving a free training on how to make your first $1,000 per month with ChatGPT. In this free audio training, you'll discover 6 of the easiest ways to make money with ChatGPT, how to speed up the money you make, and secrets to kind of grow to $10,000 per month and beyond.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for your generosity. With the ChatGPT being so new, I know that this training is going to be just such a value for people. You know, I was trying to explain this to a client of mine. She's like, you just type it in and it just shoots you out an answer, and it's legal. Yes, it's free, it's legal, and it's there. You can use it.
It's there. Yeah, absolutely. It's
amazing. What are some of like maybe if you have like a top 3, okay. Ooh, top three ways to make money with ChatGPT?
So I guess it really depends, right? Like, because everyone's got a different amount of time or money they can invest into it. So tell you what I'll do. Like I'll start. Let's start off with like, say if you've got very little. So let's break it into 3 categories almost. Like where you got very little time and very little money. And then the last one will make a lot of time, a lot of money. Like, so if you got like a very little time, very little money, the fastest and easiest way I think you can get started is just reach out to local businesses, learn how it works,
Mm.
go to local businesses and start doing tasks that they're paying people hundreds and thousands of dollars a month for. Like right now, if you're online or even just on Fiverr or Upwork.com, people are paying hundreds of dollars for an SEO blog article, or people paying thousands a month to do their internet marketing, creating internet posts. Like all of this can be done in literally minutes with ChatGPT if you understand how. So that's like obviously you wouldn't be working for yourself, but this would be the fastest way and lowest money required up front. Just walk to a local business and be like, how much are you paying for this? If not, even better, just offer them. It's like, I'll do this for you free for a month. I'll set up a blog post. You'll see increased revenue, and then you can hire me for $500 a month or whatever to continue.
Wow, that gives me chills. That gives, because it's so exciting, the opportunity, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and people haven't got up to it. Like, there's people charging thousands of dollars a month for your social media marketing, and yeah, like that's just something you
So
can do
much
yourself
money.
now.
Yeah. So that's number one. What's number two?
Okay, number two, I guess, let's say if you've got a little bit less time, but you've got a little bit more money, let's say, so you can kind of invest in training a little bit more upfront. So what you can start doing is start creating your own products. You can start creating, like, I guess it depends on what you want, but yeah, you can start creating your own courses or YouTube channel. There's something everyone is better at than others, whether it be, you know, learning how to play an instrument, or with the specific area of research, or how to use this kind of application that people will pay money for. It's like, because people would rather listen to someone and figure out their problems in 10-20 minutes and pay $10 for them than spend hours messing around with it. And that's so true, I think, for everyone, because why wouldn't you? Time is important. So everyone's got a skill set. I mean, yeah, to create a YouTube video on something that you know very well, something you're passionate about, because by default you know that very well. But there is a little bit of barrier to getting started. You need a bare minimum, a nice microphone, obviously a laptop, a good connection, stuff like that. But that's something that's really easy to get started with.
Yeah. Would that count also as the third one, with a lot of money and a lot of time, or would that be a different type of?
So I guess a lot of money and a lot
idea?
of time, you can actually start hiring people to do other stuff, right? Like, so it just cuts down on the time you're spending and increases the volumes. Like, you can actually hire people then to start using ChatGPT to write a series of blog posts. Like, you can hire, it's like, instead of approaching local businesses, you can approach multinational firms saying, I've got XYZ people in my team. I can take over your whole SEO for your whole company, half your annual budget. And
Right.
here's the
Yeah.
proof of, like, here's a 1 month free, and it'll take your team about half a day to what they did in a month.
Yeah. No, that is so good. And I think a lot of people who have learned about ChatGPT, they're trying to figure it out right now. And I know when we had first talked, I asked you, how soon do you think the population, just the world, is going to start getting privy to ChatGPT?
Yeah, like, I mean, I feel like a lot of people know about ChatGPT, but there's still a significant portion of people who haven't used it, and if they've like dabbled around with it, they've not seen the kind of true potential. There were certain limitations as well, like obviously, like for example, the training data used to be cut off in end of 2021, but now with the new features, new additions coming in, obviously you get Bing Chat, it's going to be easier than ever to access ChatGPT, and the functionality. It's like, if you can start booking, like, for example, one of the stuff that you can start doing is you can start booking your travel, or you can start ordering your groceries with ChatGPT without ever leaving the console, by using plugins like in Expedia or OpenTable, stuff like that.
Oh, right. That is so,
So
I haven't tried that yet.
So yeah, it's amazing. It's like, so for example, you can tell it like, okay, create a tailored diet for a person who weighs this much and I want to lose 2 pounds in the next 2 weeks. And it'll create a diet with a workout plan. And then you can say, oh, you know what? Order me these ingredients and it'll order you those ingredients.
Wow, you just gave a health coach an idea with that. So tell us about what are some mistakes people make when trying to use ChatGPT?
Yeah, like I said, I think the most common mistake people make is just they try and give it too much, or they kind of don't understand. Like as we spoke about earlier, that the answer you're going to get is only as good as the question you ask. It's
Mm,
like imagine, so some people might come and be like, okay, ChatGPT, write me a book or create me a video. It's like, so if I said, oh, write me a book, you can't just write me a book. You're like, what's the topic about? How long is it going to be? Do you have any titles in mind? Do you have any subjects, areas you want to cover in depth? Do you want to cover something in less depth where you want to make a reference to it for maybe a second book? Or do you want to, what kind of figures and facts you want to get? What kind of tone do you want?
mm,
All of these things you have to kind of define. So the more defined a question you ask, it's just like interacting with a person. You can't just tell them, write me a book, and they'll do exactly what's in your head. But a lot of people
right,
kind of expect that and they come away with, oh, it's not that good.
right. Yeah. That is a huge learning curve that I think a lot of people have to learn, like that being more defined in how, but I
Absolutely.
also think they don't know it either. Like, I don't know what kind of book. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
problem,
So,
right? They
which is
don't
why it's
know.
useful, like because you can ask it to make it brainstorms. Like, oh look, so you can almost give it a bio of you. So, say if you wanted to write a book today, you could be like, look, I'm Maria. These are my hobbies. Like, I like tell me something I wouldn't know that you're super interested in.
Right. That I'm super interested in
Yeah,
spirituality.
spirituality. So it's okay. You can be like I'm really interested in spirituality. I think I know more than most people, and I'd like to share that knowledge with other people. Give me a list of topics on spirituality that I could write about. Then it'll give you
Mhm.
10, 20, 50 titles, and then you can kind of pick one. It's like,
Wow.
spirituality in the modern world, or, how to like detoxing for spirituality, whatever it is. I should
Wow.
probably ask ChatGPT, but,
Yeah.
like digital detox for spirituality and their connection, stuff like that. And then you can start planning out what you like.
Right. Yeah. And I think people lack I don't know if it's awareness or trust that they can really say and ask just that specific question. That's like, can it really just shoot out that for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it is all learning, and it's all about being able to get into the software, play with it, and then like you said, put out the different types of ways to make money depending on your availability, resources, and all of that.
Absolutely. It's like I
So
always
good.
think of it like it's like the new Excel, right? Like Microsoft Excel. A lot of people, everyone can use Excel at a basic level, but then you got some people who are experts at doing things with functions and macros and pivot tables you've never seen. But the software is the same. You got the software, you just got to learn how to use it.
Yeah, that's a great example because I remember using the basic version, and then now I use kind of like the medium version. I don't think I'm an expert, but I see the amazing things you can do in terms of reporting. Just the little secrets, like you said, the macros, and I don't even know the other things like you just said. But I think it is going to go far. Do you think it's going to? Like, what do you see ChatGPT becoming in like the next 5 years?
I feel like it's just going to be the way we interact with the internet. It's like right now, if I wanted some information, I'm sure you've had this, like, say, for example, you had some weird error message on your computer. You Google it, you're praying that someone else has encountered that error before, like, or someone's searching, or say you want some specific information. You got to write it into Google. You got to pray that's like someone's either written an article around it or there's a forum question around it. And then if you have a follow-up question, well, you're out of luck, you're going to have to start the search again. Whereas with ChatGPT, you can, not only can you get your answer, you can have a follow-up conversation with it. It's like chatting to an expert who knows exactly what you need for basically all subjects. Like the one thing that you would have kind of needed to go off it for would have been to kind of say book travel or order groceries or stuff like that. But now with OpenAI introducing plugins, which right now is a beta feature, but it'll be out to all users, they expect this year. So why do you have to want to go to Google, which is riddled with advertisements on the front page? You don't know what's an ad, what's not. Troll through hundreds of results when you got tailor-made results specific to you, and you can ask it follow-up questions. Yeah, why would you go anywhere else?
Yeah, no, that's true. Some of the times though, I see that there's like an error, like a network error. So I'd have to refresh the page. Why is that?
It's because just so many people are using it.
Oh,
It's like, because so obviously you might have heard, like it got to 1 million users within 5 days, which was the fastest of all tech platforms, right? Like, for example, Facebook took like years to get there, and it was over 100 million users, and it's just opening to more and more countries. Again, the fastest platform ever to reach 100 million users in about 3-4 months, which has taken like everything else like 2.5 years for Instagram, stuff like that. So yeah,
wow.
like they're constantly opening it to new people, and just a lot of people using it.
So right now there's 100 million users.
There's 100 million daily active users. And this was the number they released on the 6th of March. So I'm sure it's grown a lot
In
higher by now.
March. Wow, that is crazy. Do you know who developed it?
Yeah, so it's a company called OpenAI, and in
Mhm.
fact, Elon Musk was one of the early investors, and Microsoft has a big stake in OpenAI as well, which is why
Mm.
we had the Bing integration with Bing Chat. You might have heard.
Yeah, I thought it was just a random person who just knew about it. So it is the big players, Elon Musk,
So he's not
Microsoft.
part of it anymore, but he was one of the early investors
Yeah.
when basically it was a non-profit organization. So
Mm.
he's not involved with it anymore. But yeah, like so right now, Microsoft is one of they own a chunk of OpenAI. So they're going to be integrating a lot of chat GPT functionality in Microsoft Office. So it's
Oh,
like you can tell it like, I want to do this in Excel, create an Excel formula for me that does this.
wow. That's huge because that's not for Apple users.
Well,
Are you an
you can
Apple
use.
user?
I love my
You,
MacBooks. I've got my iPhone. Like, yeah, absolutely. But I also have a desktop, so I kind of live in both worlds.
oh, okay.
But you can use and Microsoft 365 on Apple devices now, so you're good. You're good.
Oh, you good. Okay. Yeah, that's funny. I'm actually a PC user. Here in the US, there's kind of like a war, a beef between Microsoft and Apple. Android is what it is. Android
Yes, of
users,
course.
and so that's funny that ChatGPT is going to lean towards the Microsoft Android people. Um, so tell us again about your free amazing gift and where we can find it and where we can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the free training will basically focus on how you can get started with ChatGPT, right? Like that's the hardest part, making your first $1,000 per month, give you that confidence, give you that supplemental income, and then hopefully lead on to more. It's like you can start making $1,000 per month, like the 6 of the easiest ways to start making money with ChatGPT, how to speed up the amount of money you're making, and like how secrets on how to grow for $10,000 a month and beyond. So I'll be interviewing some of my readers that have kind of implemented these strategies to show you how exactly 3 different people have implemented these 3 strategies to make more than $10,000 per month. You can find it at neildagger.com, NEIL /MDC for $1 Million Conference.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. And then where can we follow you on socials?
Yeah, sure. You can follow me on the ChatGPT Millionaire. That's my Instagram and a Facebook group.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Neil. We appreciate your time. We love learning about ChatGPT, and we're excited to go into the training as well.
Thanks so much, Maria. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for having me.